Hi, I'm Eleanor, and welcome to this week's episode of the Intuition Lab. This week I'm going to be talking to something near and dear, not just to my heart, but to my actual day to day life, and that is clutter. What your intuition can tell you about your clutter can really be just opening a door into who you are, what you want, who you were, and what you want to become. So let's talk about it. We all have clutter in some form, often physical, digital these days, even mental clutter can hold us back from being who we really are. It can slow us down, but getting rid of it can be arduous, it can take months, can even involve expense if you have to pay for disposal. However, it's usually an outer manifestation of our internal environment and also, I think, shows where we are out of balance in life. So, the first thing to ask yourself and your intuition as you look around your space is what do you hold on to? What categories of things do you just attract and cannot release? Is it clothing? Is it books? Is it hobby supplies? Is it an old car? Are they things that you inherited? Are they things you just pick up on the street that have a free sign on them? It's important to know what it is. And here's where, once you ground yourself and get centered, if you think, well, I just have lots of stuff everywhere, just ask to be shown with a sort of eagle eye view, set of eyes and perspective, what it is you tend to have too much of. Where in your home is your hard drive littered with old downloads from courses you swore you'd take or freebies that you gave someone your email address and you downloaded a freebie or a free course and it's just there staring at you whenever you're looking for something. you know what is it? And also, this will show you what you need. If you collect lots of hobby or art paraphernalia, maybe it shows a desire for creativity, but you're trying to force it into a form that's not meant for you. Or maybe it shows that you do want to do these things, but you are so starved for time that you'll never have a chance to do it. So, first of all, identify what you hold on to. Next, we're going to take a look at the why. So, if you can, go to the space where the clutter is, or think about the mental clutter in terms of thoughts. And I should mention, I'm not a psychologist. These are just my insights on this and based on information I've read and otherwise consumed about the nature of clutter. This is also not speaking to hoarding, which is a mental disorder that needs trained professional help alongside the actual clutter clearing. So, to get back to it, why do you hold on to these things? We hold on to this stuff because it represents something to us, an unspoken or unmet need, a desire. It can also be a sort of fortress keeping us safe from the outside world. So, here are a few things that your intuition might point you to, and if you come up with anything else, if you get a message that your clutter is indicative of something else, just show it to me. So it can be lack. I'm dating myself, but I did grow up around people who had lived through the Great Depression, and quite a few hoarded something. They held on to something just in case they needed it, and there was no money available. So you can imagine the like every screw, every spare button, and it's great to have what you need in order to function, but sometimes it's just impractical when you can't find things. So it can show a lack, physical or emotional lack. It can represent a past self. This is often true with clothing or books. Some people peaked in high school, other people peaked in college, and they just want to hold on to that. They really, really loved who they were at that point in their life, and they don't really see a way to bring that into the now. So they hold on to the stuff. Or your future self. Maybe, there's a stereotypical purchasing clothes for when you're 20 pounds lighter than you are now. Or that future self who meal preps and cooks exquisite meals every day. You know, your surroundings should ultimately reflect your current self. And with the courage and knowledge that your intuition will guide you to whatever you need to acquire or dispose of to be that person. It also keeps us stuck in trauma. And I speak as someone who is a survivor of childhood domestic and other abuse, and physical and other abuse, that sometimes we hold on to things because it's hard to look at them and let go of them. For years it was hard for me to look at my few boxes of keepsakes from my childhood because I would pull out a picture, I would pull out a toy, I would pull out a whatever, and I would just have all of these memories tied to this thing. And sometimes it can be re traumatizing to actually look at this stuff. So if you have clutter from a time in your life that was painful, I invite you to get help, whatever that looks like, medical help, psychological help, spiritual slash energetic help to help you release some of the energy and the pain around that. And maybe you'll be able to get rid of this stuff, right? Sometimes, especially for those of us who were abused as children, we're told no one will ever believe you. Sometimes you say, well, I have proof, I have this thing, I wore this thing, I was playing with this toy, I have whatever. And sometimes significance is just that you want to bear witness, you want someone or something to bear witness to what you went through. I've also seen this in other examples, to leave that one behind. um, Examples of people who got a lot of paraphernalia for a job that they were then let go of, and they just look at it and think about it every day. And it's like, oh, it was so great, and I lost it, or I was railroaded out of there. Sometimes it's just a stick we use to beat ourselves up with. So look to that for a reason why you have the clutter. It can also be loss or grief, that you are holding on to the belongings of someone who is precious to you, who is now no longer living, or just whatever represents loss in your life, loss of a relationship, loss of a pet. You'd be surprised how many people still have expired pet food and old leashes and whatnot from pets who've passed away. And sometimes you want a memento. It's true, but it's probably going to be rather minimal in terms of what you need if you cannot use it with other pets. And obviously, with medicines and pet food, if it's expired, it just has to be tossed. Clutter can also indicate overwhelm. If you look at this stuff and you intuitively get, I could deal with this, but I just need help, it shows that you're overwhelmed in life. And, some popular guidance is just get rid of it, be a minimalist, you won't have to worry. It's like, well, these things manifest in other ways, but it can directly show you, physical clutter can directly show you that you are overwhelmed in some area of your life and you need help. And you just lack the energy and the focus to deal with your environment, your immediate environment, because you are so overwhelmed. Clutter can also represent safety, especially for people who grew up in lack or were abused or suffered real trauma. I think a CPTSD, that's complex PTSD, if you're not familiar with it, response is to surround yourself with things because they feel safe. If you can barricade yourself in a place so no one can ever get in to hurt you. And, people also can't get in to help you, but it can also represent safety, just physical things making you feel safe, right? Like no one can take this from you. And finally, and this is true for me, in addition to some of the other whys I mentioned, is just stored potential. I used to have a vintage and secondhand resale business, an antique as well, but mostly vintage and secondhand. And it was a great outlet for me when I worked in the tech industry, where I had some great successes, but on balance, I knew that was not for me, and I needed this as a creative outlet. Well, when I transitioned out of that, I thought I will do this full time. And as it turns out, that was not a good fit for me. I was not very happy doing it. And it's been hard for me. And this week, full confession, I am donating a lot of the stuff I purchased because I would just go to estate sales, buy things I had a couple of booths. I would go to flea markets and fairs to sell things. And I really wanted there to be something at a price point everyone could afford, so I bought a lot of stuff. And I'm going through this, and I've discarded things that clearly are broken, cannot be used. There are very few things, and I'll get to how to dispense with it, how to rely on your intuition to dispense with it later. But to me, it represents potential. Like that could be income, because in the past, I paid off a student loan through reselling, and I was super happy about that. But right now, it just is getting in the way of me being my best self. And that's someone who functions in a tidy, not minimalist, but minimal-ish environment. So it can represent potential, like you could have, you should have, also getting back to the past or future self. But if you check in with your intuition and ask, am I going to be the person who does vintage resale again as a part-time or even full-time business? If the answer is yes, you can ask, do I need to hold on to this? And I'll get into that later, but just be aware of the potential of the clutter. But it's unrealized if you're doing nothing with it. It just sits there. It's not getting you anywhere. Also, let's move into what to do about it. And this is where you really need to, and ideally, take yourself away from the clutter, even if it's just stepping outside onto your front step or going into another room that isn't as cluttered. What do you do about it? And you may need to do some free writing where you just sit quietly, ground yourself, get to your energetic five state that I talk about. You can sit with paper and pen or whatever and just ask yourself, what do I do about this stuff? And, do you sell it? Do you gift it? Do you donate it? How long do you take to do it? You can ask, do I need this stuff to be gone right now? The answer is yes, and that's going to involve either a blitz of listing on some online forum or local sales board, or just donation. And I'm opting for many of the things to go the donation route. There are a few things I will resell, but that will be about 20% of what I have. The other thing to look at is, are you ready to let it go? Because for years, I could not let go of this stuff. I clung to it like a life raft, and the thought of even getting rid of it made me feel frightened, alone, and just unmoored. And if you are ready to let it go, then, the next thing to ask is, what is my time frame? When should I let go of these things? Because sometimes we can't see more than a couple of steps ahead. And sometimes we are being prompted to let go of things at a specific time because the universe, our higher selves, God knows that there is something coming down the pipe that we will weather much better if we are not encumbered with things. So maybe you have a roof leak, maybe you have to move, maybe you get an opportunity to do something, maybe you're going to end up having to have a relative come live with you, and that would not have been possible if you had a spare room or even a corner of a room filled with crap, right? Um, we don't know the full picture. We can tune in and look, but I mean, I do this for a living. I don't see the full picture of my life. I see the gist of where things are going and knowing that I'm being guided to get rid of 80% of this stuff, but I don't know the full why. So be prepared for that, the not knowing. But also, in terms of timing, if not now, then when? And, just honor that. If you get in 6 months' time or when such and such happens, put that in your calendar. Make a note where you will see it and it will imprint itself so you can start taking action. And I would encourage you, unless you're guided to just get rid of things in one fell swoop, to start slow and get help if possible. Get as disinterested a third party as possible if you're just getting rid of general clutter. Or if it's stuff you have at home and no one's using it, you can ask. But sometimes family members see something you're getting rid of and think, oh, I'll use it when they haven't touched it in the past 4 years. It's been in front of everyone's faces, right? Um, get help that is not involved, that is not invested in you holding on to something. I mean, of course, if something's a family heirloom, then you want to do your best due diligence to ask as many people as possible if they want it, and also if they want it, what their plans are for coming to get it. Because then it's like, yeah, I want it, I want it. And then you are unpaid storage. You don't want that because it's just going to stop you from progressing. So, as I said, be ready for strong feelings to arise: fear, anger, feeling unsafe, a sense of grief, especially if, like I said, they are tied to a traumatic event or a time in your life that either went really well or didn't go so well, and it just dredges up those emotions again. So, be prepared, have support on hand, even if it is knowing, okay, well, the days I do this, maybe I will have like frozen pizza and veg out in front of videos for a while. Just know that you may dip a bit emotionally and energetically, but knowing that, just have something planned, have a reserve, have a backup, have support to help you get over that. And also, once the stuff is gone, there's that saying, nature abhors a vacuum. And I don't think getting rid of stuff is necessarily a vacuum, it is freeing space. It's like the difference between null or void and zero. Zero is a valid value, null or void is nothing. I would argue that maybe it's a precursor to the vacuum. Again, I'm not a mathematician or a physicist, so duke it out in the comments if you want, but it's okay to have nothing there for a while. And you can also ask your intuition, well, what comes next for this space? You can ask even before you start the decluttering process, right? What comes next for this space? What comes next for me in this space? And just let it happen. And sometimes you let yourself daydream. Like you can sketch out, if it's a physical space, what you'd want to go there. If it's digital clutter that you've just deleted off your hard drive, you can optimize your drive. Maybe it'll save you from having to upgrade and get more memory, right? Maybe you'll just know where things are and what you need. Digital clutter is still clutter, believe me. And in all of this decluttering, beware of taking on other people's burdens. Like I mentioned, the physical holding of things, also energetic burden, especially if you were saddled with things left behind after the end of a relationship or a job breaking up, or a parent or a caretaker dying, especially if you had a tetchy relationship or painful relationship, right? Beware of taking on that burden. Just see ridding yourself as a clutter as starting to rid yourself of the pain and suffering around that too. You know, you really want to ask yourself, what does the clutter and the getting rid of it represent to you? Does it represent freedom? Does it represent joy? Does it just represent having more space to you? Like you're already over it and you just need to physically get rid of it. You know, things are symbols for what we need and are getting or not getting in our life. And clutter is one of the easiest manifestations of it. You know, there's so much value to be found in getting rid of clutter. And I know for some people, it becomes a sort of like political statement, but believe you me, I'm pretty sure in societies or in a world where we traded on the barter system, there would still be clutter around, right? There's always clutter. And if you are being guided by your intuition to release clutter, then please honor it. I mean, I would always tell you to honor your intuition. But when your intuition is strongly hinting or even shouting at you or creating a crisis like the proverbial roof leak or whatever, or your storage space being broken into or a fire at the storage facility, all of which I've heard about from people I know, you are being guided that it's time for this stuff to be released so that something new and better and more rewarding can come to take its place. So I ask that you keep kind thoughts in your head for me this week as I release clutter. I will do the same for you. If you are struggling with releasing clutter, please reach out to me. Leave a comment in leave a comment and I will give you some insight into what that clutter specifically means for you. In the meantime, I am sending you so much love and support. If you like what you've heard today, please like and subscribe if you are watching this. And if you are listening, please rate and comment and, subscribe to the podcast. I am so thrilled to create this for you. and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.